He designed the Enterprise we all fell in love with, and now legendary Star Trek designer Andrew Probert is back with a brand new concept for a Starfleet One. What does the President of the Federation fly? You're about to find out. Well, hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Finatics. Well, we've got some really exciting news to talk about today in regards to this new concept from Mike Sussman, one of the showrunners of Star Trek Enterprise, on his Star Trek United concept series featuring Scott Bakula as the President of the Federation. Courtesy of the wonderful folk at trekmovie.com, they spoke to Mike Sussman, and it seems like that more than just Mike is excited about the concept of this new Star Trek series. In fact, legendary concept artist and designer Andrew Probert, who's an absolute Star Trek legend. He started work on Star Trek the Motion Picture, doing a lot of the design work and everything for the Enterprise refit, designs for a lot of the visual imagery we saw in Star Trek the Motion Picture, and then again on Star Trek The Next Generation, so many of the designs for the Enterprise D, for characters and races and concepts and everything for Next Generation were worked on by Andrew, and he is without a doubt responsible for a lot of the visual stylings and everything that we love about Star Trek today. And Andrew's got really excited about this concept of this Star Trek United series as well. And completely unpaid and of his own free will, he's come up with some concepts for what might be a potential Starfleet One. So Archer is going to need a ship. If he's the president, he's going to need to be cruising around the galaxy and everything, talking to other races. He's not just going to be stuck in his office on Earth. He's going to be cruising around and everything. And the president, let's face it, needs an Air Force One equivalent. Now, President today cruises around in Air Force One. So if you were to put that in Star Trek terms, the Starship would be called Starfleet One, and it would be a warp-capable equivalent of an Air Force One concept. So Andrew's put pen to paper and everything and done a few sketches to what he thinks maybe might be something akin to a Starfleet One. He started out with a few of these concepts, which really, some of them look very interesting. Quite like some of these. This one on the right-hand side almost looks a little bit more Klingon, I think, in its stylings. So I can see why maybe he moved on from that. And these other ones here are almost like a typical Federation Starship minus the saucer section. Like what you would see if the Enterprise D did a saucer separation kind of thing. But I don't necessarily think it needs a saucer section for a presidential craft. And these ones here that sort of are a bit more streamlined, a bit more like a runabout or something like that look really good. But these ones here that have got more of a curved front on them, that are almost more horseshoe kind of shaped, I think they work really nicely. And these ones down the bottom here, they're a little longer, a little more streamlined, probably reflect Air Force One and so forth a little bit closer. So I can see why these were kind of the last ones that were kind of settled upon. And it almost seems like it has a detachable kind of nose section on the front here, like its own shuttlecraft that can go off and go down to planets and so forth. But the one he settled on in terms of his favourite was this design, which I quite like. It's not your typical saucer section, and I don't think it should be. If it's not a Starfleet vessel, I think it needs to have the two nacelles. I think it needs to have the main deflector dish concept. But I don't necessarily think for an Air Force One or Starfleet One, it necessarily needs to be saucer shaped. And I think this design quite accurately reflects what that might in fact be. Now, I took Andrew's concept here that he's sketched, which looks really great, and I thought, let's feed this into AI and see if we can get something that looks a little bit more finished. So with the help of some AI and a bit of my own photoshopping skills, I turned Andrew's concept art into something that looks a little bit like this, just to get a really nice sense of what this ship could in fact look like if this Star Trek United series with Scott Bakula were to in fact happen. I think the more and more that I see and hear little tidbits about this potential series, it does sound quite intriguing. And it would be something I would get behind, and it seems like a lot of Star Trek fans are also of that same opinion. There's been a lot of comments in my previous video on this. If you haven't seen that, click up here and you can check that out. But yeah, a lot of people are very positive about this concept. I think there's a lot of Star Trek shows that have come out recently that people are saying, we didn't necessarily ask for this, maybe referring to Section 31 and maybe even Starfleet Academy. But I think there's a lot of fan discussion for shows that we do want, like Star Trek Legacy or Star Trek United. But let's face it, just because the fan base is vocal and excited and want something, clearly with Legacy not happening, if the powers that be don't want to make it, they're just not going to make it, regardless of how loudly we all cry out that we want it. That's been made clear from Legacy. But I think this show could be really interesting and exciting, and also fill in a sizable chunk of Starfleet and Star Trek history that really is pretty much untouched. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Do you like Andrew's concept for a Starfleet One presidential craft? Let me know your thoughts on that one and we'll get chatting about it. As always, be sure to subscribe to Sci-Finatics if you haven't done so already, and check out all the cool merch in my merch drawer, like this t-shirt and other stickers and hoodies and mugs and caps and everything, with some great designs there to check out. Always at great prices and help support the channel at the same time. I'll be back soon with my next video. See you guys soon.